What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I've got another very important AMC update to bring all of you this afternoon. So what we're going to be covering in this update is just a brief Ortex short interest and utilization analysis to give us a better understanding of where we are at with the current outstanding short interest and the potential for the forced share recalls and forced liquidations that we saw back in June. Now, in addition to this, we also still have to talk about the potential for a gamma squeeze coming up into tomorrow and the beginning of next week, because we essentially are seeing a lot of these contracts being unhedged for and then re-hedged for again. So that is going to explain a lot of the price action that we are seeing, but we're going to cover that when we get to that section of the video. We have some AMC crypto announcements, and the DTCC has just released something that is very, very important in my opinion. This is going to be something that is not only going to potentially be able to help us apes out when we eventually see these shorts cover and we see these short squeezes, but the overall health of the market. Now, I know a lot of people have said, well, these proposed rule changes and systems haven't really done anything for us in the past, and I would say I disagree, because you can't look at any one of these proposed rule changes by itself. You have to look at them in an aggregate all together and see how they are all working towards changing the market for the better. So before we get into all of that information, if you enjoyed the information and analysis that I provide for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it really helps us out a whole lot in getting this information out to as many people who want to learn. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So at the current time that I'm recording, AMC is currently on a lot of bullish momentum right here at about $48.35. We started off the day a little bit slow. We've seen a lot of weakness in the markets. Now, typically September is a very weak month for broad markets, but with all of the news coming out about the debt ceiling with Evergrande in China and all of the different ramifications that are going to come of that, the markets aren't looking so healthy at the current time. But our friend Amy, AMC Entertainment, is doing pretty solid today. Now, when we come over to this Ortex update right here, short interest at 18.76%. This is basically identical to what we saw as the exchange reported short interest that came out a couple of days ago. Now, utilization has been steadily dropping over the last couple of days. That is a very weird metric in my mind to see go down. We've seen continuous shorting. We've seen a lot of selling volume being pumped into the market, and we haven't really seen that reflected in the utilization. And again, the most likely outcome for why we are seeing this number continuously drop, even though they are taking out a significant amount of shares every single day, is that these lending institutions are finding new spots. They're going into these nooks and crannies of the overall market and finding more shares that they can then loan out to institutions who want to short. And when you think about the equation to calculate utilization, it's the amount of shares that institutions are willing to lend out versus the amount of shares that they have already lent out. So if the amount of shares that they are willing to lend out increases and the amount of shares that they have already loaned out stays the same, that utilization number will decrease. Now, coming over to Stonko Tracker over here, we have 143,000 contracts in the money at the current time. We've seen a lot of contracts run out of the money, but now that we are back over these significant levels, we are seeing more contracts run back in the money. Now, I want to go over a quick dynamic with you guys to essentially just give you an understanding of the price action that we have seen over on AMC over the last couple of days, just based on the option chain. So what we've seen when we come over to the chart, let's bring this out to a 5-day really quickly. We saw some significant selling pressure over the last couple of days. That is sending calls out of the money and puts in the money. But we all know that we've seen a significant run up. So a lot of these calls were previously hedged for in terms of buys of shares from these institutions, but then they were sold off because they no longer needed those shares in order to maintain that directionally neutral status. What we are seeing with this green day today is a lot of these contracts are now running back in the money. So they are forced to buy more shares, the same shares essentially that they had just bought to hedge a couple of days before in order to maintain that directionally neutral status. And that gives more buying volume, creates this positive feedback loop, and that is where that potential for a gamma squeeze comes from. Now, nobody knows if we're going to see any super significant price movements tomorrow, but if we do, we are going to see a lot more hedging, a lot of FOMO, and potentially some more shorts covering their positions. Now, when we come over to this article, AMC boss Adam Aron said the theater chain would accept Ether, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin alongside Bitcoin for ticket purchases as cryptocurrencies gain acceptance among mainstream investors and companies. Now, in my opinion, this is really bullish for AMC going forward because if they are able to essentially stockpile cryptocurrency, the possibility of that crypto going up in value massively over the next 5, 10, 20 years is significant. So they could be able to create a lot of revenue or investment value that way. But some naysayers have said that, well, who is going to be buying movie theater tickets online with Bitcoin? And I think they do have a point there. But what you also have to keep in mind is that the fact that AMC is getting into this crypto space could set up for next year when AMC has said they will be able to offer a dividend to do a dividend in a crypto way. So that could be very bullish for AMC going forward and something that we need to keep an eye on. Now, let's come over to this DTCC situation right here. So at face value, this doesn't really look like a big deal, but there's some key elements that I want you guys to understand that are very, very bullish going forward. DTCC's Project Ion platform moves to development phase following successful pilot with industry. Now, we can see the prototype pilot demonstrates capability of DLT to support T+1 and T+0 settlement with planned launch of platform in the first quarter of 2022. Now, when we think about what happened back in January with GameStop, AMC, and a lot of these other stocks that were having very significant run-ups, one of the reasons why the buy button was needed to be turned off at a lot of these different brokerages was because of these settlement times that are essentially out in the market right now. It's all T+2 and I believe T+1 for options. This can sometimes handcuff these brokers and puts a lot of pressure on not only the clearing institutions, but the brokerages as well. If we were able to switch to a T1 or a T0 settlement platform, that would be very bullish and it would protect a lot of retail investors in the event that we see these massive price movements to the upside anytime soon. Now, the last thing that I really want to cover with you guys is a concept that I have brought up a couple of months ago when we were first talking about when Goldman Sachs liquidated 25% of all of its equity holdings, and they disclosed that most of the time when they were liquidating, they were selling to retail investors. Now, what we were saying then is that, well, a lot of these big institutions are going to want to make these trades to get out before a major market event because they can sell to retail investors. Now, the reason why they would be able to do this is that, one, retail investors are most likely not going to have the information or the analytical ability to really dissect what is going on in the markets. And if retail investors were to suddenly pull their bids, meaning they don't want to buy anymore across the broad market, this is not talking about AMC specifically, then all of the big banks, all of retail investors will have one thing in mind: sell. Who are they going to be selling to? Well, if there's nowhere to really sell at any of these assets, the demand is going to fall through the floor and the prices of a lot of these different equities and any other investment class is going to fall as well. And we are starting to see the developments of this right now. Collapse in retail investor euphoria points to imminent correction. So what we are seeing here is that the retail buy the dip mentality is starting to fade. Now, it's entirely possible that, one, retail investors just don't have any more money to put into the market right now. We are still in a period of economic hardship right now with coming out of the pandemic. So we can see it in the jobless claims, home value, inflation, everything. So that is one of the possible explanations. Or a lot of people are starting to wake up and read accurate information to see, well, our markets are not in a good spot. They are overextended at the current time, and it might be time to get out. That is the most likely outcome of what I think is going on right here. And we've already seen Goldman get out. We've seen Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan project a 10 to 15% correction coming in the near future. So in my opinion, it is just a matter of time. The only thing that we really need to focus on to determine when we could see this potential correction would be actions that are taken from the Fed, which we have covered a lot. So that is mainly going to wrap up this update on AMC and what we are seeing in the broad market. If you guys enjoyed the information and analysis that I provided for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it really helps us out a whole lot in getting this information out to as many people who want to learn. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.